even have a live-action intro for this one. Like, what am I supposed to say?
Nintendo Switch.
You know what? I could have just said that.
It sold this much, whatever this number is. I'm too lazy to look it up when I'm writing this. Oh, but what games have done the best of the best? Well, that's what we're discussing today. But I'm going all the way down to the top 50. Why? Just cause. Starting at number 50, we have Captain Toad's Treasure Tracker with 2.35 million sold. Yeah, this sounds about right. It's Toad finding stars. Of course, there's at least 1 million people who are interested in that, but it's actually 2 million instead of 1 million. Wow! At 49, we have Pikmin 3 Deluxe at 2.40 million sold. Now, I haven't played a Pikmin game yet, but I really do want to try it. And I mean, this is pretty solid for Pikmin when we look at the sales in the past. Not a widely well-known series compared to other Nintendo franchises, so to see it at least do decently well is pretty nice to see because it looks fun. And it seems that it got a little bit more popular because of a little thing we like to call the Switch effect. Basically, because the Switch has a higher user base, a ton more people may flock over to a certain series with not a lot of traffic in the past. So expect me to mention anytime the Switch effect will take place on one of Nintendo's less known series. Dragon Ball FighterZ at 48 at 2.43 million sold.
I don't know.
It's a Dragon Ball Z fighter game, dude. It's not that hard to understand.
Hey, I don't care for anime. You know this.
You better at least have some insightful commentary about this.
No, what if I just move on? No, what if I just proceed without even talking about it?
He'll find out.
Oh, he won't find out.
Alright, that's it.
Mario Golf Super Rush at 47 with 2.48 million sold. Yes, the Mario Golf game that has less content than the 3DS game, the new main gimmick of Super Rush mode not being compelling, and the story mode just being some glorified tutorial with not really any depth. And the courses just being really basic and not really feeling like Mario. Yeah, no, this game only has this many copies because it has the Mario name. And I got free updates. Wow! Yeah, expect that to be another thing I complain about, because free updates kinda grind my gears in some of the games Nintendo does it with. Speak of the devil, Mario Strikers Battle League at 46, with 2.54 million sold. Holy crap, why did this sell more than Mario Golf? At least that game has a shred of merit to playing it. But this is a shell of a Mario Strikers game. It's insane how bare bones this is. And also, of course, lack of content. We also got free updates that added characters and maps, but the characters aren't all that important to gameplay, and the maps are barely different since you're just looking at the ground most of the time, and it's always just grass. Yeah, honestly, this game does not even deserve a fraction of its sales. Pikmin 4 at number 45, 2.61 million sold. Yeah, just replay what I said earlier, but like 4 times speed, in a verse, and for some reason in black and white. Xenoblade Chronicles at 244 with 2.70 million sold. Yeah, I might play a game in this series. 2 in particular is a little too sexualized for my taste. If you've seen anything from this game, you probably know what I mean. But the gameplay itself, I mean, it looks alright. ARMS at 43 with 2.72 million sold. Okay. It's a fighting game where you have extendable arms. Okay. I feel like this sold more because it was one of the first games released on Switch, so it sold a little more compared to if it was just randomly released today. It seems like Nintendo was trying to recapture the success of Splatoon with introducing a brand new series, but the concept just wasn't as compelling, and calling it ARMS doesn't really help things. Like, Splatoon is a unique name, so if I Google it, that's the first thing that'll come up. ARMS! New Pokemon Snap. It's the first Pokemon game we're seeing on this list at 42, with 2.74 million sold. It's a game where you take pictures of Pokemon. It sounds boring, but it's alright. I'm sure a lot of the people that are on board with this coming out were those who owned the original on the N64. And it won them over, I'd say. Metroid Dread at 41 with 3.07 million sold, making it the best-selling Metroid game. You see, Metroid fans really wanted this to succeed, because the last few years of the series before Dread weren't all that great. Federation Force, Other M, Prime 4 being announced this time 4 years ago, and still not being out with the development switching from Bandai Namco back to the original developers of Prime Retro Studios, with them entirely restarting development. So Metroid fans were hoping that Dread would sell well so Nintendo wouldn't lose hope on the series. And because of the fact that this is now absolutely the best-selling Metroid game, then I think it's safe to say that Nintendo knows there's a revived interest in the series, with there also being a remaster of the first Metroid Prime, which is great by the way. And now it's just time to wait 20 more years until Metroid Prime 4. Whoop-de-doo! Among Us at 40 with 3.20 million sold.
Now there's an audio clip of you saying Among Us, what have you done?
I don't even know what to say about this game in 2024. I really don't. Just move on. Yoshi's Crappy World? I mean, Yoshi's Crafted World at 40 at 3.35 million sold. It's a Yoshi game, but apparently worse than Woolly World. I don't know, I haven't played either. Paper Mario The Origami King at 38 with 3.47 million sold. Now this game is okay, but still isn't what Paper Mario fans actually wanted because of the lack of creativity compared to the Thousand Year Door, and I think Nintendo duly noted that with a remake of that game coming out soon. 1-2 Switch at 37, 3.74 million sold. This game, out of all things, sells this much. I'm sorry. Well, it was another game that came out at the start of the Switch's lifespan, so it stuck out a little more. You will maybe get an hour of this game at best, and they charge $50. Why? Like, it's not that good, but if you made it a pack-in, it would be less of an insult to injury. But no, by no circumstances is it worth this much. What is the name of this next one? Well, whatever. It's placed at 36 with 4 million sold. What is this? Apparently it's often compared to Monopoly and I don't know what that is either. Hyper Warriors Age of Calamity at 35 with 4 million sold. This one has a decent amount of sales because of it using the Breath of the Wild / Tears of the Kingdom characters, enemies, and world, etc. And it doesn't have as much as those two games because of it not necessarily doing the same thing, because it's in the Warrior series where you just fight hordes of enemies. And as a spiritual successor to Hyrule Warriors, it's pretty good. As a prequel to Breath of the Wild, though, it's kinda weird. There's this little robot that stops the events of Breath of the Wild. That's weird. Good game, but weird how that effectively splits this game into another timeline, because according to Nintendo, this game is canon. Fire Emblem Three Houses at 34 of 4.12 million copies sold. I'm not interested in the series, but it's got a fan base, and I'm not gonna knock it for existing. The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword HD at 33 of 4.15 million copies sold. Yeah, this one doesn't do much to the original. Does make quality of life improvements, and you can play without motion controls, so it is the best edition of the game. But you know, Switch tax still does exist, so $60, nothing we can really do about it. Super Mario Wonder at 32 of 4.30 million copies sold. This game deserves every single copy it sold. In fact, more people should buy this game. If you haven't yet bought this game, please buy it right now. I think it is the best 2D platformer I have ever played. It's so creative and not stale like the new Super Mario Bros. Games are getting. And it feels good to play. And one day, I feel like I might make a whole video about this game because it is just such a good game. Kirby Star Allies at 31 with 4.38 million copies sold. Okay. I mean, from what I've seen, it's an alright game. It just looks like it's pretty short though. For $50, I mean, maybe it's worth it, but not as worth it as another Kirby game on the system, which I'll be talking about very shortly. Mario Tennis Aces at 30 with 4.50 million copies sold. It's a Mario Tennis game, better than Ultra Smash on the Wii U, and it has some value, but this was the start of the free updates tactic with Mario sports games. This game effectively started the apocalypse. Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze at 29 with 4.62 million copies sold. This is a pleasant game. I don't think the Switch version adds all that much to warrant a higher price tag, but it's still a great time. It can be hard at times, but that's what's fun about it. This and Country Returns are great games. Play them if you can. Clubhouse Games 51 Worldwide Classics at 28 with 4.64 million copies sold. It's more of a casual game from Nintendo, and Nintendo doesn't really do that many games like that on Switch, but when they have, they do attract a pretty large amount of people to it. So I'd imagine they get a lot of people who maybe played the original on the DS, or maybe people who didn't even play video games but had an interest in it, which is something Nintendo has proved time and time again that they can do in the past with the Wii and DS. And yeah, it's a good collection of games, from the basic stuff like Checkers to some crap I've never even heard before, like Mancala, but everything here outside of a select few are actually really good, and who knows, maybe I'll even rank these games someday in another video.
Technically, there's actually 52 worldwide classics, because there's also piano.
You're not wrong, but you're also not right. I'm so confused.
I like to confuse you, hahaha.
Yeah, knowing you for a year and a half has taught me that.
Suika game at 27 with 5 million copies sold. Apparently, it's a puzzle game that randomly in the last few months started to get streamed by live streamers, most prominently VTubers. So yeah, this game popularity for the internet spreading buzz about it, and I don't know, it might be fun. I haven't seen gameplay of it when writing, and editing Drew will have to put gameplay over this, so let him tell you what he thinks of it. What do you want me to say? Honestly, what did you think I was going to say about this? Because I have no idea what to say. It just exists, and I'm taking in the gameplay of this puzzle game I've never played. What am I supposed to? What am I supposed to comment? There's nothing for me to comment. There's absolutely nothing for me to comment on. It's just a puzzle game that I've never heard of. Minecraft at 26 with 5.03 million copies sold. What do I have to say about it? It's Minecraft. You know what it is. This is the best-selling game of all time. It was gonna be on this list at some point. That is really all I have to say, because it's pretty self-explanatory. The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening at 25 with 6.46 million copies sold. It's a top-down Zelda game, so for the audience that felt a little neglected by Breath of the Wild would probably like this. And plus, it's a type of Zelda game that's still pretty good. And the way it looks now is really cool. It's a pretty good remake. From what I've seen, I've actually not played it. Kirby in the Forgotten Land at 24 with 6.96 million copies sold. This game is amazing. It's easy, sure, as every Kirby game is, but also it's such a big evolution. It's in 3D now, and it's so fun. As someone who wasn't that big on Kirby before playing this, I can say that I love this game. Monster Hunter Rise at 23 with 7.70 million copies sold. I'm not really knowledgeable on Monster Hunter, but I know this one in particular was exclusive to Switch for a while, so Monster Hunter fans have to flock over here to play the game, and it looks alright. I don't really know if it's my type of game though. Super Mario Maker 2 at 22 with 8.42 million copies sold. Why do you think people bought this one? It's pretty obvious, because it's your Mario game. You make it. And that's just too great of a concept to pass up. That's why so many people, including me, have played it for good amounts of time. Super Mario 3D All-Stars at 21 with 9.07 million copies sold. I think most of us know why this sold as well as it did. It was because it did a limited release. Basically, Nintendo relied on a FOMO strategy where people feared that they missed out on buying this game before it was gone forever after March 31st, 2021. So a lot of people bought it, including myself. The Switch was literally my only Nintendo console at the time. So if I wanted to play these games, I kind of had to get this game. And these ports are okay. Super Mario 64 isn't widescreen, but slightly spruced up in places. Sunshine's widescreen now, and Galaxy is playable in handheld mode. Alright, cool. But that's kind of it. There's soundtracks on here too, but like really, I can search this up on YouTube. Splatoon 3 at number 20 with 10.67 million copies sold. The fact that both Splatoon 3 and 2 are both over 10 million units really proves that this is now a mainstay Nintendo series. I've always liked this series. I haven't loved it as much as some people, but I enjoy them, and I really do see why others enjoy them. And I really do hope the series stays successful, and I just hope the formula doesn't get stale. Nintendo Switch Sports at 19 with 10.77 million copies sold. I've made my opinions on this game very clear in a video I made about a year ago, but I think this game could have been great, but it just didn't go far enough, and the sports it used just wasn't as great as the original two games. And the focus on the online aspect is just worse than how it worked in the past. I don't know, I see why it sold this much, but I just wish this game was more, and in general, just better. Also, golf could have been added at launch. That's so stupid. Mario Party Superstars at 18 with 11.44 million copies sold. It's better than Super Mario Party, and it doesn't limit you to just using detached Joy-Cons, and it's actually good, so naturally it deserves this number. But it's still got less than Super Mario Party. We'll get to that. But yeah, it's just a remake of past minigames and boards, but it's still a great Mario Party, and it's just, in general, very fun. Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury at 17 with 12.58 million copies sold. Well, it's a good 3D Mario game, so naturally it sold well. And it's got a full new game alongside it, essentially, Bowser's Fury, so it's a great deal. Luigi's Mansion 3 at 16 with 12.82 million copies sold. It's Luigi hunting ghosts in the mansion. It isn't his though, so I'm docking it points for false advertising. But yeah, I can see why it sold this much. Splatoon 2 at 15 with 13.60 million copies sold. Yeah, basically what I said earlier can also be applied here, but also it's kind of surprising to see how well this did, considering it was only the second game in the series. A series that started on the Wii U, no less. It's a good game, nothing much I didn't say about Splatoon 3 portion of the video that can't be added here. Now, Pokemon is going to have a few spots coming up, starting with Legends Arceus at 14 with 14.83 million copies sold. Now, I can definitely see why this sold well. First of all, Pokemon, you know, the name is very big. And second of all, it actually tried to innovate the Pokemon formula, with it being more open, without it also being broken at the same time. So yeah, the next two are also Pokemon, and they're the remakes of Blue and Red and Diamond and Pearl, respectively. With the first of which being at 13 with 15.06 million copies sold, and the second of which being at 12, just barely beating it with somewhere over 100,000 more copies. They're both games that might get people who are nostalgic for those games in the past to bite the bullet, especially Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, because they're literally remakes of the first Pokemon games on the Game Boy. Ring Fit Adventure at 11 with 15.38 million copies sold. It's another one of those more casual games, with it being more workout centric, where you have to actually get this, stand up and actually physically do something.
How frightening.
For the 500-pound McDonald's eating man, it is very frightening.
And now here we are, the top 10, the best of the best. Although you wouldn't think so when you realize number 10 is New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe. And yeah, this game compared to Wonder has so little personality, and in general is as basic as a 2D Mario in the last couple decades gets. And they just added like Peachette in this version. Toadette can turn into Peach. What is the point? It got easy sales for it being 2D and having the Mario name. They knew they didn't have to make a new Super Mario Bros. Game because they could just recycle the old one. And honestly, thank God for that, because maybe we wouldn't even get Wonder if that were the case. Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom at number 9 with 19.50 million copies sold. Breath of the Wild was seen as one of the best open world video games ever made. So of course, the sequel is going to sell almost as good. It's just so good, man. All the gameplay enhancements just add so much to an already good formula. And just everything about it is like Breath of the Wild, but just better. So yeah, good game. Super Mario Party at number 8 with 9.66 million copies sold. Now, as mid as I think this game is, it's easy to see why it sold this much. Firstly, it's Mario. Secondly, the game using Joy-Cons the way it does may have compelled some people. Also, just because it's some casual Mario board game fun, but man, I just don't care for it. Now, Pokemon is in the next 2 spots, and these are both 2 of the most controversial in the series. The first one we're going to talk about more than the other one. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet at number 7, with 23.23 million copies sold. It was one of the fastest selling Switch games when it released, and already sold 10 million copies within 3 days. But still, it failed to not disappoint. It was so buggy at launch, still is in fact, and also not to mention graphically, Game Freak has been struggling with the Switch, but this is next level struggle. Oh my god, some of this game just looks so ugly. But obviously it didn't matter that Pokemon Company and Nintendo looked at this and knew it was broken and still released it, because it's still the 7th highest selling game on the system. Pokemon Sword and Shield at 6 with 26.02 million copies sold. While not as controversial as Scarlet and Violet, it's not immune to controversy with stuff like graphics sometimes, and the fact that they removed the current Pokedex, and other stuff happened that as a surface level Pokemon player, I will never fully understand. But it seems better than Scarlet and Violet at least. Okay, we're in the top 5, and rest assured, every game after this point is good in some way. We've done away with all the slop. Here we go. Super Mario Odyssey at 5 with 26.95 million copies sold. It's a 3D Mario game. When does that not sell well? And it's the first 3D Mario game since Sunshine to use a more open gameplay style. I think I prefer Galaxy, but this was my first mainline Mario game, so naturally I still have a lot of fondness for it. I really do hope they go more in the direction of this and Bowser's Fury for the next 3D Mario game, because they laid such a great groundwork for the future. And in general, it's just a really, really good Mario game. The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild at 4, 31.15 million copies sold. This really doesn't ever happen, but because of how innovative this game is, it beat the best-selling mainline Mario game on the system. This is really surprising, but it's done so much for the broader industry as a whole. In fact, more than Mario Odyssey, even if it did have an impact. And it truly feels immersive and real, and you can actually pick how you get to your objective and what to tackle next, as opposed to like a Ubisoft open world game, for example. So it only makes sense this is one of the greats from this generation. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate at number 3 with 32.44 million copies sold. It's Smash Bros. It always has been massive, but this game was even bigger than anything that came before it. It has every character from every previous game, a big selection of stages, very good mechanics, and also you can remove stage hazards and change other settings if you really want to. Of course, every Smash Bros. Fan will love this game. This game is seriously great, and people might still prefer Melee, but if those people want to play a more modern Smash Bros., it's gonna be this one, 100%. Animal Crossing New Horizons at 2 with 43.38 million copies sold. There's a very good reason why this sold so much, and it's because of a little thing that happened around the time this game's released. A funny little virus decided to start killing people, so we all had to stay inside in our homes, and what was that one game that was there at the time? Animal Crossing New Horizons. Everybody and their dog was playing this game. It was insane. People who didn't even like video games are playing this game too. Like, the amount of Switches sold only for this game, and this game only, cannot be understated. This game certainly had issues, such as Animal Crossing staples coming in free updates after it launched, but at least there was a lot of content from the beginning, at least. Now, the big one. The best-selling game on the entire system, and it combined with its Wii U version, it's also the 6th best-selling game of all time. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, with 57.01 million copies sold. Mario Kart has always been that essential game for each Nintendo system it appeared on, and historically it has either been the best-selling game on the system or somewhere in the top 3. Yeah, obviously, if you got a Switch, you need this game. It's a game literally anyone can understand. It's Mario characters karting. So yeah, that's the best-selling Switch games. I wanted to make this an easy video, but it ended up being over like 4,500 words. Oh my god, why can't I ever let myself settle down?
Theoretically, you could. You're not getting paid for it.
Yeah, I could, but I won't, because my opinion on Wario is too important to not share.